time for me to make some more hair butter because I used the hair butter that I made before. I am going to switch up the ingredients in this batch. So I'm going to add coconut oil this time. I have the same container that I used last time, just the leftover in there. I'm going to be using some organic extra virgin coconut oil in this batch. So first I'm just going to dig some of that out. Let's see, can you? Gonna dig out some of this coconut oil. You can say about 2.5, maybe 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. And again, that's an organic, extra virgin cold pressed and unrefined coconut oil. This one's by Viva Naturals Organics. You can find them in other brands. That's just what I have. I'm going to use my organic castor oil that I've had for a while now. It's almost gone, so I just want to go in and use that one up. Castor oil and my hair get along. And I would like to get rid of some of the bottles that I have, but this bottle is a nice dark bottle, so if I make another like just hair oil, actually might be a good bottle to keep because of the darkness, to keep some of the light away from oils, to keep them from like oxidizing as quickly. And this I showed in another video. This is a shea butter with boru tutu bark in it, which has like vitamins A and F and things in it. So I'm going to be, this is my star ingredient. This one is more solid than the other one I had. And I'm not sure if the other one that I had boru tutu bark in it. I do still have a container for the other one, but I use the other one to make hair butter and body butter. So if you're curious how I made the other batches of both hair butter and body butter, please go check out those videos and you can learn some alternatives. If you have any sensitivities to these kind of ingredients, feel free to mix it up, or if there's something that you know doesn't really work for your hair, that's something that you can consider substituting. Other things that I would consider using are Jamaican black castor oil instead of just the straight castor oil. I would use olive oil, but I use all of the rest of the olive oil for cooking. And so I don't have olive oil for this batch, but it doesn't mean that like you can't go back and add things in later if you ran out, or you think of something later and you're like, oh, I could have added this. You can just go back in and add it and just remix it. That's the nice thing about making your own products. So that, yeah. Like I said, this batch of shea butter is more solid than the other one. If you want, you could do like a double broiler method for melting. I don't really care to put it in the microwave. Microwaves they're known for changing like basically the chemical structure of things, which I unfortunately still do use them sometimes, but double broiler method would be better. And you probably don't want to use it for too long if you're not looking to break down certain things. So this is tea tree oil. That's how much I have. maybe a little bit over a milliliter. I'm gonna do about 4 of these. Tea tree oil is nice because that wasn't quite full. It's like antifungal. Might also have some antibacterial properties, but it's antifungal. It's one of the things that's used to treat athlete's foot, the tinea fungus. This is rosemary oil. Rosemary oil has been said to minimize hair fall. I'm just going to add a lot of this, probably like 50 or 60 drops. Rosemary oil is also, I think, said to help with hair growth. I know it's been compared to minoxidil. So I'm putting rosemary oil in there, and then I'm going to add some peppermint oil. And also lately, I have upped my vitamin intake. It's important to know if you decide to take iron, whether or not you're iron deficient, because iron can be overdosed. So it's not something that you want to flippantly do. But if you've had blood work done, you know you're iron deficient, it's important to take iron. And let's go ahead and add in this peppermint oil. I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing this, but maybe about 2 to 3 tablespoons. And peppermint oil does have a tingling sensation to it. It is strong, so you probably want to mix it in with other oils. Like there's coconut oil and shea butter in here. So those will kind of act as my carrier oils for it. But peppermint oil can help stimulate blood flow to the scalp, which you want because you want your follicles to have the blood flow that they need in order to increase hair growth. And at least to support proper hair growth. So I'm just going to be blending this together, which would be an easier process if the shea butter was melted. But I would need to look up, could you break down properties? Some things might get activated with heat and some things get broken down with heat. So for shea butter, I'm not really sure what the conclusion would be if you heated it up, how it would react. But that's something, if you're interested in, you're thinking about heating your shea butter, that's something that you consider. Now the coconut oil is melting, has pretty much melted pretty easily. So coconut oil is a solid at room temperature usually. That's why they could put it in this container, because this is how it looks at room temperature. It's solid. But it obviously has a pretty low melting point because you can see how runny this is because of the coconut oil that's in it. So this is going to make a runnier oil than the other butter that I made because of the addition of the coconut oil. And because I use so much of it in relation to the amount of shea butter that I use. Now, if you want it thicker, you can, of course, go in and add more shea butter to it because the shea butter than the coconut oil is. So if you don't want to do this by hand, you can put it in a blender. And you can do it that way also. So this is going to take some mixing on my part. The overall smell is probably the peppermint oil in it. And I am actually going to add at least one more thing to this. I'm going to add some turmeric oil, but I actually don't want it to be the prevailing smell. And turmeric is pretty dominant when you put it in things. Like it will overpower a lot of things in smell. And to me, it smells kind of like sunflower seeds, but I don't completely enjoy the overpowering scent of turmeric oil. So I'm going to put some in here, but probably not like a whole lot. So I'm going to go get that and I'll be back. So I have a large bottle of turmeric oil. I'm going to just add some of this in. About a teaspoon and a half or so. And I do it to be a bit thicker than it is. I'm going to add some more butter to it, which is going to cause me to need to mix more, but it's okay. It's a good little workout for your hand muscles and your arm muscles. But yeah, my hands are getting a workout. It's amazing the things that we don't really consider all the time, like the dexterity of our finger muscles and stuff, like with writing and art and cooking and things like that. We have a lot to be grateful for. And even if that's not something that you have, there's still a lot to be grateful for. So comment something you're grateful for down below. Also, let me know if this is a recipe that you would use at home if you make it yourself. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe and like this video if it's something that you've enjoyed. It helps my channel to grow. So this is what it's looking like so far. It's still quite lumpy. It's going to take some work, or at least by the time I decide to use it, I will have to do some melting in my hands. So this batch of shea butter definitely takes more work than the other batch that I had. Actually, let me go and get the other one. This is the one that I'm using today, but let me go and get the other one and see if it said that it was whipped or something, because the other one was definitely easier to move or to modify by hand than this one is. I'll be back. So this was the other one that I used. This one says it was imported from Ghana, Africa. This one also says it's from Ghana, but it came from Elk Grove Village, Illinois. This one said all natural, 100% pure white, smooth shea butter. So that was definitely a lot more malleable than this one. But I feel like, I don't know, like I also appreciate this one because I appreciate things being closer to nature. the way that they come in nature, because God knows what He's doing, and we shouldn't go outside of what God has made with it being good in the state that it is, and switch it up, because a lot of times it makes it worse or there's an issue with it. Um, I don't like all the preservatives and junk that gets added to our food and body products and hair products. So that's why I'm an advocate for making your own things or finding products that are as close to nature as possible, because our skin is an organ. It's classified as an organ in science because it also absorbs the things that are put on it. So that's why it's important for us to mind what we are putting on our skin, on our scalp, what we're putting in our bodies, to know the kind of ingredients that are used, because a lot of times it's not close to nature. It's been really modified and really messed up. And the funny thing is, which is not funny in the sense of humor, but the interesting, weird, strange thing is, a lot of times we have to pay more for the things that are closer to nature than things that have been modified from nature, which is unfortunate. And yeah, we just have to, you know, try to educate ourselves. And I think it's a lot easier these days to educate ourselves. Well, and so in a sense, it's easier because we have the internet, and then in another sense, you have competing information, which makes it more difficult. But ask God for wisdom, because He'll give us wisdom when we're trying to discern between what's truth and what's not truth. Because there's a lot of competition in the world for money and for power. And so sometimes information will get tainted because of that reason. But the best thing to do is to stick with things the way that God made them in nature, because He's creator and He knows what He's doing. So thank you, Jesus. So this is what I got so far. It's still quite lumpy, but let's see what happens when I put some of it in my hand. So it's runny because of the coconut oil, but then the lumps you see are the shea butter. It gets pretty liquid. Look how liquid that is, pretty liquid. So this one is definitely going to have a different consistency. And I'm glad the Terramera oil wasn't, I didn't use too much of it, so it wasn't able to completely overpower the peppermint oil scent. And the coconut oil, sometimes it brings its own scent too. But I prefer the scent of coconut oil over the scent of Terramera oil. But Terramera oil has some really good properties, so even if I have to smell like it to use it in a product, it's still worth it. But you can see how liquidy that is. So this might be, if you are a person who needs a more liquid product rather than a thicker butter, this might be a better option for you. Say if your hair is maybe low porosity and lighter oils work better for you than the thicker ones, then this might be a better option for you. But anyone can try it and see what works for your particular hair. That coconut oil does give you some shine. But yeah, it just takes a little bit more with the melting process to get it to a place where you can just put it in your hair. So if you got to this point and you're like, that's too lumpy, that's too much work, like I don't want to have to melt that in my hands, you can still take it from here and put it in like a double broiler and melt it down some. I would recommend really, really low heat and try not to get it to boiling point, because you don't want to break down the goodness that's in it by denaturing it with heat. So that's my other butter, more lightweight butter, which is maybe more ideal, as I said, for low porosity ladies. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and have a happy new year. Bye.